I'm going to teach you how to paint this miniature. So, miniature painting, it's going to require you to gather some supplies. You see here that I've got kind of the basics laid out that you'll probably want. As for specific things that you'll want, first you're going to want some water. Really doesn't matter what kind of water, plain tap water, bottled water, it'll go in some kind of cup. It really doesn't matter what kind of cup. After water, you're going to want some brushes. Now these come in a variety of shapes and sizes and textures and fibers. The important part is to get a brush that fits the size that you're painting. Not too big so that it won't fit into all the details, and not so small that you need, or that it's going to be too difficult to cover much, much larger spaces. After brushes, it's time to look at paint. I use Citadel paints, which as you can see come in a wide variety of colors. This is an acrylic water-based paint, thus the water we used at the beginning. Citadel has a range of shades, colors, and other kinds of paints. Pretty much anything you'll need. To mix and blend my paint, I use something called palette paper, which is almost like a wax paper that the paint and the water won't bleed through. The last thing I have are called painting handles. This is something that the miniature can sit into and be held onto, so you're not actually holding the base of the miniature or the miniature itself, but you're holding something that you can move around, rotate, view the model from different angles as you're painting. Again, I buy from Citadel. They come in a couple of different sizes. You should probably have a few. So this is the model right now. It's clean and it's dry. All the dust has been removed and it's ready to begin with. So we're going to base coat the model first, which is spray paint. And when using spray paint, you want to use light back and forth coatings and no direct spray. So now that we've got a base coated model, I used white to have everything kind of show up nicely. This gives us our starting layer to begin with. So now we're going to start adding some base layers. So this is, how you would mix a paint. Take the paint out of the pot. You're going to put it onto the palette paper so that it doesn't seep through to your desk. And then add some water to kind of thin it down. The goal here is to get the paint thin enough so that it flows well on the model. It goes into some of those cracks and crevices and just looks smooth when it's dry. So then we're going to start adding the layers. And you're going to add layers in the same way that you put your clothes on. So you're going to paint your skin first, and then say you're going to paint your, shirt and pants. Then we're going to add things like sash, and you see we've added more details, more decorations. Between each of these different colored paint layers, it's important to let the paint dry for about 5 minutes. The other advantage to thinner layers of paint is that they dry more quickly. Now you can see that some of the other details that she's carrying, her staff is painted, the small barrel on her hip is painted. We just have a few details left. The bangles on her scarf are now done. Pretty much most of the model is done at this point in terms of details. You can see that we saved the hair for last, the hair being one of those outermost layers. Now the hair is done, and you can see it's got a lot of depth, and painting in layers like this allows you to kind of correct mistakes from previous layers. And kind of the last thing we did was paint the base gray to kind of match the stony texture. So now what we're going to do is shade the model. Now, shading is, as opposed to putting on the layers of paint before, shade is a very thin down paint that even more so is meant to flow into cracks and crevices. It's kind of almost slopped on, as it were. You can be much neater with it. It kind of depends on what you're trying to do. But it adds that extra level of definition and depth to the painted miniature. You should let each shade layer dry about 20 minutes. And this is our original model. It's shaded. I've used a couple of different colors of shade to kind of bring out different details in different ways to enhance the basic look of the model. And now we're all done. You can see that the painting area is pretty much a wreck from when it started. Paint everywhere, brushes askew. A mess to clean up. But, I think we accomplished what we needed to. And here at last is our finished model. This project is meant to be fun, not perfect. Took us a couple of hours start to finish with lots of breaks in between. And the techniques I showed you here can be used on a variety of other kinds of projects. For those of you that are still with me, these are my mistakes. Some of you may have noticed that there was another model used for some of the examples. To be fair, there were actually 2 other models. The first run through didn't work at all. So here are the images of the other 2 miniatures that I used to help with this project. Thanks for watching.